hell of a good artist, and now I can barely write my name. So my dolls have to tell a story.
At your service, mademoiselle.
The hand that holds the pen writes history.
From a gritty and glamorous biopic about the French author Colette to a retrospective of film critic Lisa Nesselson's favourite filmmaker. Welcome to our weekly film show. Hello, Lisa.
Hello, Eve.
Thank you for being here. Now, Colette, starring Keira Knightley, is out in France this week. Now, I've seen this film described as a star is born for the Belle Epoque. Tell us about this French literary phenomenon.
Well, a star was born, but it took a while given the restrictions on women's lives at the time. The Guardian also pointed out that she was an influencer in her day, and she was a country girl named Gabrielle Sidonie Colette. She grew up to be, as the credits claim, the most famous female French writer of all time. She created the Claudine books, which influenced haircuts in Paris and led to what we now call merchandising on an absolutely epic scale. Everything from Claudine soap to Claudine fans to cool yourself down if you got all hot and bothered while reading about the racy situations involving the 15-year-old schoolgirl Claudine. During and especially after her marriage to the enterprising and exploitative Willie, who was 15 years older than her, he passed off her prose for his. She and her lady love Missy dressed in men's clothing, which was then illegal, and were seen around town as a couple. And although it's long after the period covered in the film, Colette really influenced the young Audrey Hepburn's life when she discovered her at age 22 on the French Riviera and personally chose her to play Gigi on the stage.
Well, France 24 spoke to Keira Knightley, who plays Colette. Take a look.
What?
Finally, we have a success, and then you imply that I'm not the true author of it.
No, I didn't.
We're holding dynamite here. We've created something really powerful, and if it goes off at the wrong time, then it could blow our bloody heads off.
Ollendorf is your publisher, Willie.
Yeah, well, Schwab also said something.
Schwab is part of the factory.
People love to talk. They praise it to your face, and then the moment you turn around, there's knives in your back. I understand the mentality here. You don't.
Well, I understand it well enough to write a book that's a toast of Paris.
I think very often our voices aren't heard, our stories aren't told. And so there was something that I felt like anybody could kind of connect to within that story. Yes, it's happening in a much more extreme way to Colette. Her husband is literally taking credit for her work. But I think just that sense of your experience not being as valid as a man, I think is something that a lot of women can connect to.
And you can catch the rest of our interview with Keira Knightley later on this week on our website, france24.com. Now, so should we go and see this movie, or would we be better off curling up with one of Colette's 30 novels instead?
Well, yeah, maybe there's room for both. This very earnest and lovely to look at production falls into a category I'd call reasonably entertaining and enjoyable without actually being all that good. Knightley is very engaging, as always, and Dominique West makes the scenery he's chewing seem very, very tasty as the imperious rascal Willie. Colette was really daring and transgressive, really, for her time. The film starts in 1892 in Burgundy and takes us to Paris the next year, where the salon chatter includes conversational gambits like, Eiffel Tower, for or against? The events, and there are many, take us into the 19-teens, but too often this Colette just seems like she's prefiguring contemporary attitudes towards sexual freedom and female autonomy instead of blazing trail after trail. The portion of the film where both Colette and Willie take up with an American woman from Louisiana whose southern accent is as broad as the Louisiana Purchase struggles to find the tone it needs. I had never heard of pantomime, which is the art of lip-syncing to an opera singer singing off to the side. And in her 40s, she took up with her 16-year-old stepson, which nowadays would probably have disqualified her from being nominated for the Nobel Prize in Literature, which she was in 1948.
Okay. Well, on French screens is another movie based on the true story of a very unusual person, Mike Hogenkamp. Now, in the year 2000, he was beaten outside a bar by 5 violent men. Then what happened?
Well, he was beaten so viciously that he barely survived being in a coma and suffered brain damage in the form of total amnesia of his life before the attack. His way of coping proved utterly unique. In the backyard of his modest house, he built a scale model Belgian village he called Marwen and populated it with buxom dolls and a doll stand-in for himself in the guise of his alter ego, Captain Hoagie of the U.S. Army Air Corps, fighting in Belgium in World War II. Director Robert Zemeckis, who you surely know from his amazing track record, including the Back to the Future trilogy, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Forrest Gump, and Castaway, plays with scale and extraordinary visual effects to show us as viewers, what it must feel like to truly inhabit an alternative reality of one's own making.
Okay, well, let's take a look at the strange, doll-filled universe of Welcome to Marwen.
I'm so tired of being alone. Oh, shit.
We got your back, Hoagie. We always have your back. We're here for you.
It hurts, Jules. It's so painful.
I know. But you have to love the pain, Hoagie. Like the wise man said, our pain is our rocket fuel. It reminds us of our strength.
Well, many reviewers have been rather unkind to this film, and some say it didn't need to be made at all because it's based on a very excellent documentary.
Well, Marwen Call is an outstanding documentary, and I'm not even sure how this movie will come across to people who haven't seen that first. But I found this version with actors a very touching exploration of the power of art and imagination to work through and perhaps surmount trauma. There are also some really good bad puns in the movie. For example, Captain Hoagie brings a buxom young doll milkmaid to meet the existing kick-ass multicultural women of Marwen. Asked if she has a cow, Hoagie replies that her cow got caught in the crossfire, making it cow-lateral damage.
That does sound like the sort of thing that you would say, Lisa. Okay, Lisa, when people ask you who your favourite filmmaker is, what do you say?
Well, actually, for years I've been asking them to wait until today to find out on the show. Amazingly, my favorite director and a retrospective here in Paris at the Cinémathèque Française just happened to coincide now through February 8th. Billy Wilder is almost certainly the director whose talent for telling a story on film has thrilled me the most consistently since I became aware of movies as special vectors of potential bliss and not just a way to kill 2 hours. Billy Wilder was born in Galicia in Austria-Hungary in 1906, knocked around in Berlin and Vienna, made a stop in Paris, but in 1933 got out of Europe when it became an increasingly inhospitable place for Jews and ended up in Hollywood crafting 27 feature films. 4 of them reside on the American Film Institute's list of the top 100 American films of the 20th century: Sunset Boulevard, Some Like It Hot, Double Indemnity, and The Apartment.
So this will be a treat for you. Let's take a look at a scene from the cross-dressing caper comedy Some Like It Hot, which has recently been restored.
I understand you're looking for a couple of girl musicians.
Sugar Cane. I play the ukulele and I sing, too.
We have been playing with the wrong band.
Boy, would I love to borrow a cup of that sugar.
What's in Florida?
Millionaires.
You must be quite a girl. Want to bet?
Of the many, many movies I've ever seen, Sunset Boulevard is probably my hands-down all-time favorite. I also adore Witness for the Prosecution and Stalag 17, 1963's Irma la Douce, in which Shirley MacLaine plays a prostitute in Paris's old Les Halles district, is very sharp about French behavior. And if you suffer from an irrational fear of black and white movies, Wilder can cure that. One of my favorite true stories about the intersection of Hitler and the movies concerns Wilder and Erich Pleskow, a fellow Jew whose family left Austria soon after it was annexed by Hitler. Now 94, Pleskow went on to run the Studios United Artists and Orion Pictures. Wilder and Pleskow came back to Vienna after World War II as officers in the U.S. Army. They asked to stay in the exact suite at the Hotel Imperial where Hitler had stayed in March of 1938 after the Anschluss, and they got it. If Billy Wilder hadn't made it to America, I wouldn't have my favorite film director. So thank you to the immigration officials in 1938. 1933.
And that retrospective is on at the Cinematheque in Paris. Now, starting this week for a month is My French Film Festival. Tell us about this online festival.
Well, Unifrance, the organization that works worldwide to promote French films, has found a clever, infinitely healthier use for the technique that drug dealers use to get people hooked. Give you a sample for free or for low cost and hope you'll keep coming back for more. A curated collection of recent French features is available to stream almost everywhere in the world, either for free or for a very reasonable fee. Last year, they say they drew 12 million viewing connections. 50 VOD platforms worldwide are involved.
And it's cheaper than going to the cinema.
It is indeed. Each feature costs €1.90, and the festival is completely free of charge in Africa, Latin America, South Korea, India, Poland, Romania, and Russia. So go there. I'd recommend the very peculiar mockumentary Guy, or Guy, a Belgian doc about an incredibly feisty and dedicated female magistrate called Ni Juge, Ni Soumise, and for adults only, the gritty tale of a male prostitute, Sauvage. That's streaming. Now let's go to the big screen. Relatively few films enjoy really long lives in most countries. They get swept away. But French distributors and theaters are dedicated to giving audiences a fair crack at seeing good films, even if it means bringing them back after the fact. So if you're in France, until January 23rd, the annual Télérama Replay Festival is happening. That's the weekly magazine Télérama, which picks their 16 favorite films of the year just ended and offers them for just €3.50 in cinemas all over France. It's a rousing annual success, and it gives people a chance to see movies properly that they regret not having gotten around to, and it adds a nice amount of money also to that film's life in theaters.
Thank you very much, Lisa. And we're going to leave you with a medley of snippets from the Télérama lineup. Remember our website, we're also on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.